Cindy Lavelle, and welcome to Pay It Forward. Thank you so much for being here with us today for life, leadership, and legacy, an opportunity to listen, learn, and be inspired by some of our community's greatest leaders. Today, I am so excited to have Bud Richter with us. When I was dreaming up this crazy idea of how we could bring this group of great leaders together, Bud was definitely high on my list of individuals that I wanted and hoped would participate. Bud's first name is Elmer, if I'm correct, and he and his wife Jan are definitely pillars of our community. He's a native of Fresno, and he joined the Navy and served in the Navy, and then he went off to Stanford and came back and married his high school sweetheart, Jan, and started working in his family business, which was the Richter Bottling Company, which was founded back in 1895. In 1957, the company became the new Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company, and that was run by Bud and his brother. Bud and Jan have served this community in every way possible. I can't think, when I first moved back to Fresno over 30 years ago, it was the Richter name, and it was Bud and Jan that I heard of and was inspired to get to know better. Bud served on the community hospital board for, I think, 21 years or more, and he has given so much to Fresno State and our student body. I couldn't think of a better person to have on this panel than Bud Richter, and why don't we go ahead and get started, Bud, and we'll kick it off with why you think philanthropy and community involvement is so important.
Well, many thank you for having me. It's a privilege to serve with the other panels, and I'm humbled, really, by the other people that would be sitting beside me were we there live with you. In answer to this question, I have to unquestionably say that my mother and my father motivated my brother and me. I have a brother 2.5 years younger than me, and motivated us to we are two basic principles that they learned that I remembered throughout life. Number one was our Jesus commandment, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And secondly, my father said, this community has been very good to us. We cannot keep taking out of the community without putting back in. And so it was under those principles that we witnessed and were taught. My mother, my father worked long hours in the business. We saw him at dinner and in the evening and on weekends. And like many fathers in those days that had their businesses. So our mother raised my brother and me. And she was a very special lady in my eyes. She basically grew up in Dinuba and Reedley, was the oldest of 5 children. And her father died before her youngest sister was born. So she served as a person looking after that family all the way through her life. And it was a great example to me and to Jan to see the value of family, how important it is in life, and how we must be protective of it and keep it as the developer of good values that we are really sort of measured by and checked by, because family knows us and they expect us to live by these values. And so my mother was active in her church. My brother and I had a Bible study every morning before we went to school. And on Saturday and Sunday, we were in church. My mother was very active also in the first guild for the Valley Children's Hospital, for Harder Lecture Club, the downtown hall, and particularly she had a love for local community. And for about 20 years, she helped support and enable local community to begin and prosper here. Many a night I saw her take dinners to the director of the theater, who was on low money compensation, but she looked after him. So my father was active in the community with Rotary. And one special thing about my dad was there were about 35 men in the early 50s that met. I think Joe Dale of Dale Brothers Coffee is the one that called them together. And those 35 men discussed and voted to form the first organized Fresno State Athletic Boosters Group, which later became the Bulldog Foundation.
Wow, I didn't know.
So the Bulldog Foundation, under Pat Ogle and Bruce Ferris from the Fresno Bee, made a book, The Team Behind the Teams. And they took writings from a number of Bulldog Foundation presidents. And that story is in that book. And it's a wonderful story of Bulldog Foundation and community support for athletics and academics, because you have to do both.
I'm going to have to search for that book, because that's a story I hadn't heard, and I love that. That's great.
I will send you that book.
Oh, thank you, Bud.
Okay.
That was so at Fresno State, certainly you have the Richter family over generations have given to the community, and you had great role models to help you, and you're serving as a great role model for so many young students that are starting out. And the Jan and Bud Richter Center for Community Engagement and Service Learning has actually touched so many of our students over the last, maybe it's over 50, almost 15 years, or maybe longer. And
18 years, I think of that.
Wow. And not only the students, but the good that it does in our community. How did that come about? Is it something that just evolved over a period of time, or is it something, I really don't know the history of that.
We didn't know Jan and I didn't know anything about the history of the volunteer center. They call it the Center for Student Engagement and Service Learning, officially on campus. And we were not aware of it. And Dr. Welty, then president, came to Jan and me one day and said, Jan and Bud, I'd like you to consider endowing the Jan and Bud Richter Center for Community Engagement and Service Learning. We said, what's service learning? We knew what community engagement meant, but we didn't know about service learning. And are you familiar with service learning?
At Fresno State, yes.
And it's a wonderful opportunity which most all universities now have adapted on their campus. And service learning is where a qualified professor in this service learning mode invites his or her students to apply what they are being taught in their class, to go out in the community, volunteer your time and effort, and then display those skills and talents that you're learning in that class and helping others have a better quality of life to live.
That's incredible. So it's open to any student at Fresno State.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
This last year, over the last, I think, 10 years, over 1 million hours has been given by students, staff, faculty, and administration back into the community through volunteerism that's basically sort of organized and inspired by the Jana Bud Richter Center. And we have about 30 students who are student leaders in this that work on campus, getting other students involved. Chris Fiorentino is the director, executive director, a wonderful, wonderful person that gives excellent direction. He's been there since the start. And maybe, Mindy, it'd be interesting to the audience to know where this all began.
Oh, I think it would be, definitely.
Dr. Bob Kittredge, who was in counseling, he lives at our San Joaquin Gardens retirement community where Jan and I live. We were talking one day and he said, he was a professor here in counseling, and he saw in the advertising, this is about 27 years ago, that there was some money available to fund some student activities. So he went to his dean, and Bob Kittredge was serving as sort of a community college liaison to the Hmong community, which is just a block or two right from the campus. And so I'm trying to remember the dean's name, but Bob went to him and says, I'd like you to apply for money so that I can go ahead and bring maybe 4 or 5 Hmong students who are students here on campus and teach them and have them go back into their Hmong community and tutor and counsel the young children in that center so that they're better prepared to enter school.
Wow.
And so that went on for 2 years, and Bob was retiring, and he said, I went to his dean, he said, this really should continue because it's really, we think, paying great rewards for the university, but particularly for the younger family and for the whole Hmong community to have their students, young kids, be better prepared. And so the dean agreed, and they went out in search of an executive director. And Chris Fiorentino was a professor at Reedley College. And they didn't have enough money to go ahead and hire him full time. So he came on here half time. And in a year, he was working full time, and they honored him 2 years ago for 25 years leading the Center for Community Engagement and Service Learning.
Well, I'm looking forward to, in the very near future, when we can get back to face-to-face communication, spending some time with Chris and learning more about him and the programming, because that's an incredible story. And it kind of leads me to, the question about the student, because a lot of times I'm asked by a student, how can I make a difference as a student? I see that there's a lot of needs, and I don't even know if one person can make a difference. And I think your story, that last story, how the center got started, is a great example how one person can make a difference.
When you say that, I'd like to go back a little bit to my comments when Dr. Welty asked Jan and I to endow the center. And as he talked about the values in the students in learning how to volunteer, and he said they do it humbly, many times anonymously, except for representing student body and Fresno State. But he said, now we graduate 6,000 students a year. And so we have about 66% of the students in the student body annually experience a service learning class.
Wow.
And so Dr. Willie told us, can you imagine when these students graduate from Fresno State who have had this student volunteer experience and how they've been fulfilled and see the fulfillment in others? They leave school, They get married, they raise children, and they train their whole family in volunteering back into the community. And think about the impact that has of 6,000 students and their families over 20 years in the community. I mean, it's awesome.
It is awesome.
And just like volunteerism and the gratitude of being able to help others, do unto them what you want them to do unto you, is such, and it can affect this community forever.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I go back to the title of our original luncheon series called Pay It Forward. I mean, we're giving the students an opportunity to learn to do just that, and to give, and to be able to impact and teach others. It's really quite remarkable. And I thank you and Jen so much for stepping up when Dr. Welty asked you. And I just, it's just mind-boggling just to think of the impact that we've made on all those students' lives, but also on all those that they have now impacted in the communities that they're living with, and in their families as well. We have such a great student body. I mean, since we sold our business, I've been teaching at Fresno State, and
good.
And I've really enjoyed it. I've gotten to know a lot of really, really wonderful students. And, there's just, our community is going to be I think we're in good shape with those that were graduating. And I just wanted to know if there's one skill that you think, in my class, I try to prepare them. It's kind of a hybrid class, but I try to prepare them for those first jobs or their first steps outside of academics. What would you recommend, or what skill set do you think is really critical to our students?
I think I'd like to start off answering that question by saying, as Jan's in my education, in particularly high school and college, taught us so much that we were learning how to learn, learning how to get information, learning how to set goals and reach those goals in a timely manner, and to continue this learning process after college. And in college, we learn really where to get information, where to research it. And we learn what a valuable asset the university is to the nearby community. It's the greatest resource of knowledge, educational skills, research, and the leadership, the ability to work with community to solve issues and problems. We see that in the School of Agriculture here, time and time, and the water, which you've been involved in with Laval, the research, and uniting with other universities, other people that have worked on water supply. This university is major to this Central Valley and to the state. And so when Jan and I came back from Stanford, we had football season tickets for 50 years, basketball season tickets for 30 years. And when we first came out, we came on campus, and that was the way the people got on campus, or to see almost any activity on campus was through athletics. And I knew and learned what a great resource the university is to its community. And under Dr. Joyle, a wonderful president, he devoted his full time to this university, but it was a university unto itself. It supported itself, it taught itself, it improved itself, but I did not see it serving and willingly volunteered to serve in the community. And so it was early in the 50s that I said to Jan and me, you know what, we're going to work on trying to get the community and the university to work together. Get the community, get the university to see the value in working with this community and making this whole Central Valley the wonderful place it can be. And it wouldn't be that way if it weren't having some of the university involved. And so that's how important we've thought and tried to apply our time, talent, and treasures, is to unite the university and the community. And so it's special. So you asked me, what should we want to tell a student? I'm sorry for the lead-in for that.
No, it's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Bud.
And so I would say, if I were there in a live Pay It Forward seminar, which we were hoping to have, that one, you have tremendous skills now in going to a university. You've learned how to learn. As you grow up further now, you're going to learn how to apply that knowledge. Never stop learning. Always keep trying to improve what you're doing. In athletics, I learned that you got to do your best and never give up. And it's the same way in learning, in trying to be as good as you can be in the skills you choose. Our Kremen School of Education is so wonderful. After the teacher has graduated, go into teaching, they've got master's and doctorate programs for those students, for now the teachers, to grow and learn how to better educate our people. They do a wonderful job. I had the privilege of serving over there 20 years as a volunteer, and it's just a wonderful place for education of our students, and it's available to anybody who wants to work hard enough to get into it.
Yeah, I agree that learning mindset is so critical for us to try to embrace for our lifetime journey, and hopefully, and I see it all the time on campus. The students are hungry to learn, and they're learning inside the classroom and outside the classroom, hopefully taking advantage of opportunities. I've been really proud of the number of students who have come to the Pay It Forward events. And the first time, I think they're getting urged by the professors. It's that second time that I love seeing them, because I know that they're there because of them. They wanted to be there. But it is a great way, and I completely agree with you about the closer that the community and the university can be, the better off we all are together, because we can give so much to each other. And there's just a lot of exciting things occurring on the campus, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings. This is certainly a trying time for our administration on campus, but during challenging times, some interesting new opportunities arise as well. So I'm excited to see what the future semesters look like. But Bud, I could talk to you all day. This is so much fun for me to learn from you. And I hope that in the very near future, we can grab those group of leaders together in one place again and put them in front of the students. But until then, please accept my greatest level of appreciation for being with us today and taking the time to do this video conversation. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
May I add just a little bit? You talk about the university's responsibility to serving the community. I've had the privilege, Jan and I've had the privilege to know Dr. Saul, who's now our provost, but before was Dean of Arts and Humanities, and to have a number of opportunities to visit with him. And I was so really humble and appreciative for the leadership in that college, because he told me that we have, as a university, the responsibility to not only teach our students books and learning from that way, but we have to teach them as American citizens. They have a duty to our country, to our city, state, and country and county to help make this a better place to live. We've got to treat everybody like the Lord tells us, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And when Saul told me that's some of the basic principles in their teaching, some of the basic values in that school, it's humbling and gratifying, and how super it is that students have that opportunity to have fine, excellent professors train them in those values.
I agree. Well said. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and give my best to Jan. And thank you so much. I appreciate you, Bud Richter, and so does the community. Thank you so much.
I knew your mom and dad quite well. We traveled together and different things, but tell your dad hello for us too. Your family has contributed so much to this valley. Thank you.
I was very excited I was getting an opportunity to talk with you today. So I will send my best regards to him as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bud.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. God bless. Bye-bye.